Welcome back, Fantasy PD. We are now officially in episode 10, heading into week 10 here. We thought we'd get more clarity in the league, but I think we only got more cloudiness with the exception of two teams at the very top and the very bottom. However, we've known that since draft day, at least for one of those teams, what the fate was. And I'm not talking about Jake, but with me, as always, we've got Dan Miller, Nick Clem, and gentlemen, how are we doing?
Never better. I'm coming off of a win. It's been a while. How many did I have in a row there? I was 3-1, then I was 3-5. So yeah, 4 straight. So Slump Buster Peter came on my schedule and I walked past him.
Yeah, I'm coming up off a loss. Didn't feel good. I pretty much could have made any other move in fantasy and I would have won. I just happened to pick the perfect alignment of players. And I lost.
You know, one thing, I gotta close my door here, it just keeps creaking, but tell the people how you are. Fill a little space here, Dan. I know this is one of your strengths.
Yeah, so I've been working on this since it wasn't a strength last week, but I really wanted to bring up the Jets at some point during this podcast, and I think now is the perfect time. I think a huge win against the Bills really cements them as one of the best teams in the league and potentially, a playoff, maybe even Super Bowl caliber team, which I've been saying they were this whole time. So it's glad to see their coming out party happened and them get a little respect around the league.
Potentially a playoff and maybe a Super Bowl. Two very, very different spectrums there, but I'm glad both are potentials. And congratulations. Good to see you.
I appreciate it. Awesome take of yours last week. Who kept it closer? Packers against the worst defense of all time in the Lions, or the Jets up against the best defense in the league, the Bills. And if I told you the Packers wouldn't put up double digits and the Jets would win, you'd call me crazy. But here we are.
The only thing I'll say to that is I never gave a take. I asked you a question. And so it was your take that I would like to say was spot on. So I asked the question, you gave us the take. We had some takes that were really good last week. We had some takes that were really bad last week. One of them, as I was looking back to see who we picked, because I wasn't doing live PowerPoint updates, was I said Berg's team could boom this week.
I picked them too. Oh,
I might never ever say those words again. I don't care if he is Dan's team from last year. But anyways, let's head on over to the first. Actually, Nick, anything that you'd like to share?
I just want to reiterate. Yeah, I've picked Berg now 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and both of those weeks, I think he put up like 60 and 70 points. So I said last time I never pick him again. I guess now I have to officially say it. I just keep going back to that well, and it is not fruitful.
And didn't Berg get a win in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, he went one. He's 1 and 2 in the last 3 weeks, and I picked him to win the 2 weeks he lost and won. So
gotcha.
Just not a safe bet ever.
Yeah.
But hey, he goes on a run here somehow. He got Jonathan Taylor, who's now 31st in rest of season rankings. So number 30 is Chris Godwin. Number 29 is DK Metcalf. So I just said, hey, do you want to trade up? You could turn Christian McCaffrey into DK Metcalf in 2.5 weeks. And he did not. Maybe we'll see. He might fall under Darnell Mooney in the coming weeks. So anyway, Berg,
you might see a Kareem Hunt for Jonathan Taylor trade on the horizon.
Dear God.
Throw in 20 fab and he's in.
Yeah.
I don't have 20 fab.
Neither do I, buddy.
All right. So we're going to head to a new segment, which we actually stole from Friends of Madison Fantasy, Friends of the Pod, which, hey, they stole the pod. We still back. Just good banter going back and forth. Two good friends, two seam heads. Just two guys out there that were going through basically the same person. Just one lives in Philly and is really angry and mean, and one lives in Wisconsin and is really, sweet and nice. But not all the time, actually. But that is Berg and Shaw. And one of their favorite parts of their episodes was their trivia and their questions, especially when Shaw was put on the spot. So ours is specific to some fantasy trivia and how it relates to our league. So I've got 4 trivia questions. Dan gets to participate in all 4. Nick gets to participate in 3 because he knows the answer to one of them. And what we're going to start with, Dan, this is the one you get to partake in, is our first question. And this one is called More Busts Than Matt Nick. How many starters last week across all teams? So you have 12 teams. Everybody has starters, right? How many starters put up exactly 2.0 points or less?
Okay, well, I know 2 of them were on my team. I know one was on Milk's team with his defense. So that's 3.
For reference, there is 108 total spots.
I
across
know
the
it's
league.
gonna
you can,
maybe there's one. I'm gonna say I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm gonna say a guy on Berg's team.
Pretty safe bet.
he put up 60.
I'm gonna take 2 guys on Berg's team, and I'm gonna take a rando. I got 6.
All right, we got 6. The answer is 10.
Ooh,
There were 10, and your matchup featured 4 of them.
oh shit.
And Nick and I were the only one not to have exactly 2 or less. So that is number 1. We had almost 10% of the league last week put up 2 points or less. Milk's D, Carolina, putting up -6, held on by the brute strength of Nick Folk's leg to send you into misery. That'll come back.
Yeah, Berg only had 1, by the way. It was Devin Duvernay. So
He tried to sell me.
All right, we're gonna you guys both get to play this one. This one's called Crazy Eights. So the name of it will be revealed later on why it's called that. But last week, 2 gentlemen on my team, Travis Kelce and Devontae Adams, each had 17 targets.
This is Pete cutting a promo of why you should buy his players.
This is me cutting a promo. They had 34 targets. It gets worse, Dan. Don't you worry. Out of the rest of the league, there were 3 teams that flexed a running back. So 8 more teams that flexed a wide receiver. So 3 wide receivers and 3 tight ends. How many of those teams, their total wide receiver plus tight ends, had more than 34 targets?
Okay, so it's out of 8 teams. How many?
2 wide receivers. They're 2 wide receivers plus their wide receiver that was flexed plus their tight end. How many of those teams? Your favorite stat, brought to you by T. Higgins. Targets.
I do like T. Higgins.
Yeah, I know you do. You've been looking at him all googly eyed for the last year as he sits on Jake's team. How many teams had more than 34 targets between those 4 players? 34 or more.
I feel like the number's got to be low, or else you wouldn't be bringing it up about how great your team is.
I gotta imagine. I gotta be there pretty close. I feel like because I had Palmer, who probably had at least 9 or 10 targets because he had a great game with. And Everett weirdly gets a lot of targets, but he's like 4 for 20. Jake is always up there, but did Jake go running back in his flex?
Jake did not go running back in his flex.
I'm gonna say one other.
Yeah, I'll go one other as well.
All right. I was hoping to have a high number. The answer is 0. And the reason this is called Crazy Eights is because Dan played against Milk, and Milk's whole team, not including his running backs, he flexed Michael Carter, who got 1 target, but his 2 wide receivers and tight end got a total of 8 targets, and Dan got the L.
Devontae Adams had 8 targets in the first drive. I look up and Peter, he already had 30 coming from Adams. I thought it was curtains for me.
All right, that's the second one. Third one is the question is, do you really like it raw? So through weeks 1 through 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown was wide receiver number 4. In the weeks since, he is wide receiver 74. He's got a bye in there. Weeks 4 through 9, he's been wide receiver 74. So I've got a few players. We've got a few questions here, and we're going to say who is averaging more points per game, room points per game, because some of them haven't had their bye. This guy or Amon-Ra?
Is it Amon-Ra through weeks 4 or the whole
weeks
season?
4 through 9? And Amon-Ra is averaging 5.7 points per game in weeks 4 through 9. He was averaging around 20 in weeks 1 through 3.
All right.
All right. So we are going to start with Ben Skowronek or Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Who is Ben Skowronek?
It's when Matt Stafford gets confused which one of the white guys is Cooper Cup.
I'm gonna say it's got to be Ben Skowronek, or else
How many? What is it? 5 points he's got to beat.
5.7.
I'll still take Amon-Ra.
It is Amon-Ra by 0.3. One for Nick. All right, we've got Randall Cobb or Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I gotta take Amon-Ra here.
Oh,
But
has
Pete
there been any-
Pete's putting it in for a purpose. I'm taking that old guy.
Randall Cobb. Well, I guess he's been like out a couple games, so if it's just like points per game, I'll go Randall.
All right, it is Randall Cobb. Chase Claypool or Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I'll take Claypool. He had that one blow up game,
He did. He went nutty.
but everything else has been terrible.
He might be starting this week. I'm gonna take Claypool for.
It is Claypool.
Let's go.
Julio Jones or Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
Julio's staying.
Julio's
Yeah,
dead. I'll take Amon-Ra.
Samori Toure or Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Who's Samori Toure
He caught that long touchdown in the Packers game.
for the Packers?
Yeah. Against
I'll
the
take
Bills.
Amon-Ra. Toure had the touchdown, but that was like it.
I'll give it to the no-name Packers guy because I know Pete's just trying to flex on.
It is Amon-Ra.
There we
Oh,
go.
Not by much. Not by much. All right, Mac Hollins or Amon-Ra.
Matt Collins, doesn't he work the booth?
Mac Hollins.
Oh,
I've got a perfect record going here still. Matt Collins, when was the blow up game? When he had like 35 and Pete grabbed him immediately and started him and he went for like 1.
I'll take Matt Collins.
I'll take Matt Collins.
It is Mac Hollins, not by
Yeah.
much. But that is the company, if you don't scroll very far on Fantasy Pros, who he is around in points per game as of late. So that's our
pretty
third one. And then our last question is, should the NFL go to London? And I am not talking about London, England. I'm talking about Drake London and his performance last week. And so we're going to play a game here. This is our last question, where Dan, you're going to be a big participant of this one.
I bet.
You take the cake for the two of maybe the worst plays of the year. Number one, Nyheim Hines, which we know what happens. So, but number two, we've got Drake London, who went for, I think, 1.7 or 1.8. So I've got a few players here that if you would have flexed them, would you have won with that team or that defense or that player in your starting lineup, or would you have lost starting them over Drake London? So
Okay.
number one, we'll kind of start here. Number one, Boston Scott or Drake London.
So all they need to do is score 2.2 points. So
Exactly.
did Boston Scott score 2.2? The answer is yes.
I think he did.
He did not. He was like right at 2, basically. You would have played Boston Scott, you still would have lost.
If I would have played Boston Scott, I would have had some bigger.
If you would have played Boston Scott over Nyheim Hines, you would have won.
That is true. But we're not going to the Nyheim Hines.
Yeah.
All right. Josiah DeGuara or Drake London.
DeGuara.
Yeah.
It is DeGuara. All right. Broncos D or Drake London.
Weren't the Broncos on a bye week?
All right. I tried to get you a good catch. I wanted you to take Broncos D.
And they were rostered through the bye. Shaw had them.
All right. Braxton Berrios or Drake London.
Oh, baby. So Zach Wilson completed 17 passes.
All right. Yes or no?
Well, I got to think about it because I know he completed 17 passes, and I don't remember Braxton Berrios running out of the backfield, but he is quite the gadget guy. He really only had. I got Braxton Berrios.
I'll say no.
If you started Braxton Berrios, you still would have lost. All right, we've got 2 more. Falcons D or Drake London.
Couldn't have started a D in my flex.
It's for theatrical effects.
Who did the Falcons play?
I don't remember. I can let you know.
Don't tell me. They lost to
Chargers.
Kirk Cousins.
They
And
played the Chargers. I'm pretty sure.
No, because Kirk O'Chains was flexing on the plane
The
home.
Commanders.
Oh yeah. All those irrelevant red teams.
I'll go
going-
Falcons D.
Falcons D.
It was Falcons D. All right, and one last one to take us home and send us off into Nick's power rankings: Kadarius Toney for 30 fab or Drake London.
I know it was Kadarius Toney.
All right, thank you for playing along. I was very much looking forward to that. Had some.
That was
problems.
very well done. I enjoyed that heavily, Peter.
All right. Well, Nick, we will hand it over to you.
Yes, sir. Do you have my rankings to share anything, or am I just kind of going down
Can
the
you,
list?
here, if I give you sharing options, why don't you go ahead and share?
I've got notes and stuff that I don't want to give away.
Oh, baby.
I got some notes to go through on this. This is going to be new.
Okay,
just
give
go
me a
through it.
second. I will go in and I will grab your rankings. Give me.
Sure, I can just start talking about it. So we're going to switch it up this week. We're not going to do the tier-based rankings like we have the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of middling, I feel like, going on right now. So I've got comments basically for everyone outside of Jake and Berg, because my power rankings are going to have Jake at number 1 and Berg at number 12. My only comment on Jake is that I do wish Shaw had his full team here this week, because I think that would be my matchup of the week. It'd be a lot of fun to see those two going.
Josh Allen dead.
We'll see. I feel like every other report, it's either like he could be out weeks or he's playing. So not entirely sure what's going to go on there.
The coach did say we believe in Case Keenum.
Who wouldn't? He's a Minneapolis Miracle.
Yeah, playing against Minneapolis this week.
Could be
Right,
electric.
they play Minnesota this weekend.
There we go.
It's Case Keenum revenge game.
Case Keenum and Stephon Diggs revenge game.
Oh, baby. All right, Nick, would you like me to do
yeah.
a big reveal, or what would you like here?
Yeah, I think I'll go. Do you want to do a reveal at one time and I can talk through and you guys get your comments a little bit as I go through, Dan?
I think one at a time. You got to drop it.
All right.
All right.
So let's go from the bottom here. I'll start. We've been kind of meandering. We got Berg at bottom at number 12. Number 11, I've got Alex Toy. I think Alex Toy on the surface, his team looks good. He's got guys like Leonard Fournette. He's got guys like Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson. You know what that is? A bunch of crap. What?
Pete, can you pull up the teams as Nick calls them out? I'd love to look at them.
Yeah.
That's
I
right. You
think
can
the crowd
decide
will-
if you think up where the leveling is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Toy has a lot of guys that names look great. Not really that good this year though. So I actually think because of all those underperforming players, he's actually number 12 in my rankings.
Wow.
That leads me to, or 11, sorry. I misspoke. Berg is obviously 12.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're not going to get a little, yeah,
Don't dethrone Berg.
there's a lot of spice here, but not that much. Number 10, we got the milk machine. We got Luke Logic. He has actually taken a lot of moves, I feel like, that I feel have been panning out. He's been trying to make some moves. He's made trades with me. He's made trades with Peter. He's been somewhat active on the waiver wire, I feel like. He loves to forget that he should play a new defense every single week. That's got
Are
good
you seeing the
matchups.
teams? Are you seeing?
No, we're looking at just your desktop right now with your but anyways, I got Milk. Impressed with how he's kind of taken his team from what probably everyone considered was the worst team going into the season, one of the worst. He's kind of got a little bit of life here. So that's my number 10. This is probably my spiciest take here. Number 9 is Matt Nick.
You've been a
So
Matt
you
Nick
wanna-
truther.
I was, and I got off the bandwagon a couple weeks ago for a couple reasons. What has Matt Nick done this year post draft that has impressed you? Has he done anything that has been like, all right, I'm going to keep what was a great draft because he got guys like Kamara at a value. Jalen Hurts at a great value.
He did
Diggs is-
trade for that paralyzed guy.
He did. That one I won't hold it against him either way. Obviously, that was a weird one. But he traded
Traded for the
Jamal
Hawks.
Williams for TJ Hawkinson. Everyone at the time was like, why would you do that? Like, great, you got TJ Hawkinson who'll get you 6 points. Well, you also lost out on a running back that's kind of the guy that gets all the touchdowns in Detroit that scores a lot. I mean, now he's starting David Montgomery and Devin Singletary. Two guys that might not even be the starters in a couple of weeks. So I've really gone sour on his team. His bench isn't anything exciting. I think the only thing that I've been impressed was him grabbing Jacoby Myers. I feel like he's been pretty solid through the last couple of weeks and whatnot. But the Patriots have really started doing the run game with Stevenson. So it's my hot take. He has had one of the easier schedules, and his points for actually shows him being one of the lower ranked teams.
So this is what we have in our bottom.
Yes, this is number 9, Matt Nick, and then we'll go on to number 8. If you want to stop me while I'm going through, please do. Willing to defend any of these. Number 8, I've got Chris. So number 8, Chris, he's got, I think, what's his record? 5-4 right now, or is he 6-3? Yeah, he's 5-4. It's very interesting to me. His team, we've said it time again. He'll score between 90 and 110 almost every week. That's pretty much where he'll be every single time. I think he's like one of the only guys that like hasn't. It's like him and Jake are the only two that haven't gone below 90 this year. It's crazy. But the thing is with him is he has that limited ceiling, so you know what you're going to get from him. Let me see, what else do I have right up? Yeah, he doesn't flash a lot of 90 to 110. I mean, he kind of like hit on a lot of, what would I say, like wide receiver 2s. I mean, like he's got Juju Smith-Schuster, Alan Lazard, Jerry Jeudy, Curtis Samuel. Like those are all guys that I feel like almost everyone in the league would be having at their wide receiver 2 or their flex spot. So he's very deep, and the Mark Andrews injury obviously hurts him, but you know what you got with Chris. 90 to 110. If you can beat that, he won't go far. If he gets a couple lucky weeks in a row like he did in the beginning of the season, that's when he starts to string together wins. So I know he's been on the horn trying to make some trades. We'll see if he finds a suitor, because he does have a lot of depth. Number 7, I've got myself. The reason I get to have a nice little jump, I do have a lot of injuries. The Travis Etienne trade is going to be the best move all season as far as value gained. I feel like I don't think anyone will get more value from a trade alone. He's speaking of fantasy pros, he's number 10 now on the rankings. 10 overall. He's higher than Travis Kelce. Do I agree with that? Probably not, but he's right around there. I turned down a deal for Joe Mixon this week, straight up. Could have got a 50-point game out of my running back 1, but here I said no. I still believe he'll be better rest of the season. My team is like, it is what it is. It's not going to be that great unless Swift and Mike Williams come back. I mean, that's the running back 1 and a wide receiver 1/2. If I get those 2 guys back, I think I can be one of the best teams in the league, right there with Jake. But that's a lot of ifs because DeAndre Swift's made of glass, and Mike Williams, who knows how long he'll be out. So that's number 7. We got Dan at number 6. So I've got Dan right above me. Dan's team is weird. He, I'll say managerially, he's done pretty poorly in my mind. I think he might even agree with that. I think he was given an absolute gift. And not just given, he did the work, he did the research to get Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, and he has McCaffrey on his team. 3 top 12 guys on the Fantasy Pros rest of season rankings. And what else do you like about his roster? Like, Jamal Williams. Okay, great. Jamal Williams. Again, have fun with him when he scores 5 points because he didn't get in the end zone. It's not something you're that impressed about. He has Brandon Cooks in his flex right now. And if he doesn't, he's got Claypool, Kareem Hunt, the aforementioned Drake London. And there's not much going for him outside of those 3 guys. And I feel like he could have moved the line a little bit better throughout the season to be a top team. So he's got that foundation. You got that foundation, the top guys. Like that's what everyone wants. You have probably the best top 3 in the league. I mean, maybe Jake if you want to go Eckler, Chubb, and Jamar once he's back. But like, I think Dan is obviously the one that can go very high or very low, because if his supporting cast helps him out, he'll be a top team the rest of the way. If not, you saw what happens. He scores 80 points and he's not going to make the playoffs. This is another one that might be I'm a little lower on recently. I think it's Matt Hebert. I think the Mats collectively have done a pretty poor job throughout the season. I think both of them had great drafts, especially Matt Hebert. I mean, I was on as high as Matt Hebert. He was in my rankings with Jake, I feel like, all through the season until recently, because he has had a lot of injuries. The Herbert one sucks. He's not a top guy anymore. Too many injuries. Their offensive line sucks. Pittman sucks because the Colts are just terrible. Peter knows all about that with the Patriots D getting me the win this week. He still does have two of the top 4 guys with Saquon and Kupp rest of the season. So that's like going to help him a lot. But after that, I mean, he does have Stevenson. I did remember having Stevenson, which has worked out really well for him. His team's just a lot like Dan. 3 top guys and probably like the top 15 or 20. And then after that, it's like, what do you like about his team? He's got Tonyan on his team. He has Bateman on his team. Marquez Valdes-Scantling's on this team. Like Dobbins, like he has like 5 guys on my team that I wouldn't even consider picking up or rostering. And he needs to be a little bit more active. He needs to kind of get going if he wants to do anything in the playoffs. I think his record is, I'm taking records out of this, by the way, but I think his record gets him to the playoffs, but I don't know what he does after that.
He's just been in a circle of Baltimore.
He really has. He just picks up the next guy, and he doesn't even have the one that's the starter right now, which is Kenyon Drake. He somehow doesn't have him.
With Rashad Bateman on IR, so he's got 4 Baltimore players.
Yeah. So we got 4 teams left. We have, I'm guessing you guys can all figure out who we have left still. Number 4, I've got Cole, which leaves Jake, Shaw, and Peter as the top 3. Cole's team, he's been one of the top guys the whole season. He's been making a lot of moves, I feel like, on the waiver wire. He's been very active trying to get like the next big running back, which has really buoyed his team. He had some unfortunate start to the season with injuries, but he's kind of come back with that with James Conner being back. The Debo one, I did see he practiced fully. I wrote this a couple nights ago. The hamstring injury always scares me. Just ask Burr with Keenan Allen. I think his team's very good. Kenneth Walker is awesome. Justin Jefferson is very good. The David Njoku pickup, I think, was good. He doesn't sit on his players. Like, for example, like a Taysom Hill, like, yeah, I got that good value in Taysom Hill. Well, he just cuts the cord on Drake London, cut the cord on Darren Waller. He's constantly trying to get the next big thing. Note Jeff Wilson, Tyler Algier. Like, it's very impressive what he's done. He's buoyed his team, and I think he's a top 4 team rest of the way. Number 3, I have Shaw. I'm higher on Shaw than probably everyone. I feel like the running joke after Breece Hall got hurt was that Shaw's just going to be in the tank. This team does not look great this week. I will admit. It's a rough one to look at. His starting roster this week is probably worse than Berg's, but the Bengals are amazing. He has Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. Pollard is very good. He gets a ton of touches on the Cowboys, and his wide receivers are 3 top guys. Like, Shaw can make a run for a championship if he plays his cards right, I think. If Zeke has lingering injuries, Pollard's a top a running back 1, maybe a high-end running back 2. So I think Shaw has made a lot of good moves. He's been active. He's constantly making sure his team is the best. The only thing I'll say is he loves to keep that extra bench spot open, just in case. Don't know why. Maybe it's for his fallen brother, Breece Hall, who's in his IR spot. But Shaw, if you're watching this, you do get an extra bench spot, so go pick up someone fun. Number 2, I have Peter. I told Peter after I beat him on Monday, I still think he is the second best team. I think he's like the most complete team besides Jake. I think the interesting piece is the Mostert part with Jeff Wilson. If Mostert starts to lose a lot of carries, then yes, Pete will fall down my power rankings. But right now, Pete's team is very, very good. Devontae Adams trade worked out very well, I think. I think he got good value there. Kelsey is amazing. Kelsey gives Peter a ceiling that only him and Chris can kind of hit because of that tight end spot. Peter has done a very good job maximizing that. So I've got Peter here at number 2. And then finally Jake, but I'm not going to talk too much more about Jake. His team is very good. It's thin. His trade with Jamar Chase was one that was a swing for the fences. You're only good once in fantasy. I feel like every couple of years you want to go for it all when you have it. So I liked the move. I think it was worth going for. He's still the number 1 in the team to beat. And those are my extensive rankings. I feel like we've spent a little bit more time on this just to get
fun.
where I think everyone is. But what are your guys' thoughts?
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, I think you bring a very good in a way you're good at just like saying, all right, this is how I feel. It's not super biased. It's like this is the team. This is how I feel, and I appreciate that sentiment that you bring to the pod. Dan brings the pizzazz and the ups and downs and the emotions.
I'm even keel.
Yeah, well, you never have been and never will be. So
Yeah, I just took away the records. I took away everything outside of just who do I not want to play this week, and that was kind of how I felt. The interesting one again, the Matt Nick, is being so low. I was like, when I looked at his team, I was just like, why is that? Like, he's not that good, and he only put up 80 points this week. He could have a decline the rest of the way if he doesn't play his cards better.
Agreed. The only thing I have to comment on is I know I texted you guys and I said, I think that there's 3 tiers of power rankings after this week. There is the Berg power ranking, there's the Jake power ranking, and then there's everybody else. And I don't think anybody in there is a lock for the playoffs at this point. And nobody is out of it in that at this point.
What standings wise is Hebert is 5-6-3. I'd probably put Hebert. Hebert is 5-4. Wow.
And Matt Nick still has a tough schedule, and he's 6-3.
I'd probably put Matt Nick in the
I think it's gonna be hard for him.
playoffs. Like he's a lock. Do I think his team is the second best team in the league? Obviously, no, but I think just having 6 wins already, and there's still 4 weeks to go.
Yeah.
Oh no, 5 weeks to go still, right? We each have 2 more guys that we haven't played yet, and then we got the 3 that we played for the second time.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into let's stay on the note and let's jump into our into the matchup previews. We can maybe go a little quicker here and give our picks fast. So we got Team Cole versus Matt and Nick. What do you guys like here? This is going to be a good matchup. This actually might be the matchup of the week.
I think this is the matchup of the week. You can start right away because probably everyone tuned out midway through the power rankings. But if you're still here, we'll give you the matchup of the week to start. I'll take Cole. I think his team is very good.
I got Cole as well. Only thing to keep an eye on is David Njoku. I think he's good rest of season, but coming back from an injury, I don't know how it'll be this week.
Good point.
Yeah, I've got Cole. I mean, Cordero Patterson just continues to find the end zone.
Yeah. I put him in my work lineup like 15 minutes before kickoff, and I was rewarded handsomely.
The league is split on Cole and Matt Nick, so go out and vote just like you did yesterday. That heads us over to Shaw versus Jake. I think this one is going to be a landslide of who we think.
Yep, I got Jake. Shaw's team. I don't agree with Nick. I think it's kind of buns, and I got Jake.
Yeah, I do wish Shaw had a better lineup when he got to play Jake, just for bragging rights and for our sake to get to see him. But yeah, it's Jake in a landslide.
In a lot of ways right now, I think the league would hope that Shaw would win this and get into that 2, 3, 4, 5 spot of playoffs, because he does have a lot of points for. That could obviously get really hurt this week, but he is, outside of Jake, he has a lot of points for, and right now, if he was that 6th spot, would be in the playoffs. If he was, 6 or below, he'd be that man up, and he's right on that. So, I have Jake in this one.
I'll just note, I do have the points for up. He is at 971. Let's say, for example, you, Peter, who might not make in by record, is at 944. So just a difference of only 30 points. And
Yeah.
you might make that up this week alone and then some. So
Yes. Let's hope. All right, that brings us over to Herbert's Heroes and just here to beat Dan. Ooh, this is a good matchup too. Spicy. Alex might really need this matchup to win because he does just not have the points for it. He just continues to kind of skirt by right in that Chris sort of territory, and he's got Kittle back. Chris Olave's been a dog. God, I like Toy in this one.
I'm taking Ebert. He doesn't have a second running back right now. He plugs in a guy like Nyheim Hines. The sky's the limit.
God,
this one I feel like is our closest matchup. I do have Toy very low in our rankings. I'll take Matt Hebert. I'll just hope that the Raiders defense lets up some points to like Pittman. But yeah, the Toy schedule is, I think, the number one strength of schedule rest of the season. I will read off quick. Toy has Hebert, Jake, Peter, Chris, and Cole rest of the way. So it is very tough sledding for Alex. He needs to get any wins he can because there is a chance he loses out.
God. Cooper Kupp
That is a
versus
tough
Arizona.
schedule.
Saquon versus Houston. Golly. I'm flopping. I'm taking Hebert. Sorry, Toy. All right, that brings us to Harlan's Hogs versus the People's Champion.
If Berg beats me, you're not going to hear from me for a while.
He's the Dan Slayer. He took you down last year too. Are you gonna make a side bet with him?
I would love to.
Maybe he'll listen. I'll take Dan as well. My comment here, again, related to schedule, is that Dan, who is 3-6, has Berg this week, but I will say that the next 4 weeks you have Matt Hebert, Cole, Peter, and Jake. So if you drop it to Berg here, you are done. I guess you could make it in the points 4 spot, but there is zero chance you would make it in otherwise. If you lose back to back to Milton Berg.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Yeah, you start going into keeper land. Dan, I do have you here this week. Back-to-back weeks I picked you. I know that's not usually the norm, but Dan, I've got you.
Let's go.
All right. We've got I'm Sorry Swift Jackson versus the Milkiest of Men.
Milk had his fluke last week. I got Nick.
His fluke was 85, dude.
82.5.
I'll take myself as well.
Yeah, I will. I'll take Nick. Josh Palmer's a nice plug-in. I've also been really solid. So, yeah, I do like you here, Nick.
I'm so excited to not start Lamar. It's weird to say, but like Lamar has been awful like the last 5 weeks, I feel like, and Justin Fields is on a heater. So I'm excited to watch him against Detroit.
I feel like having Devontae Smith on your team has to be one of the most annoying people to have on your team because he's like just good enough to start and like potentially have a boom week in that offense. Like at least Hunter Renfrow, you're like, you kind of stinks and just put him on the bench at this point. But like Devontae Smith is just good enough, could have that game, but like he's just not.
Yeah, I agree. The Christian Kirk revenge game.
All right, we have got myself versus King Henry. I got myself here. I think that there's one position that I do not have the favorite as, where I would rather have potentially his two guys. Once again, Miles Sanders. Thank God that they're a high-scoring offense for Chris, or else that would be an ugly RB2. He just continues to get buoyed by that touchdown. Not saying that Raheem Mostert hasn't as of late, but that would be even uglier with what he has on behind it. Obviously, Dalton Schultz or Mark Andrews, that's a very big drop-off. So I will take myself. I still think, oh, wait, no, they're on bye. But I told Chris 5 times last week to start Isaiah Likely, and he would have won. I also told him to start Rodgers, but I did tell him to start Isaiah Likely.
Just got to parse through all the bullshit. I'll take Peter. I think the fantasy gods were very mean to you last week with the loss when you put up 120. I'll think you are righting the ship a little bit here with the win. I think you take down Chris and your best buddy. Are you gonna have a side bet with him?
Who knows what he'll do? I'll probably get on the horn with him. We'll talk for 45 minutes and then he'll just yell the name Debo and get off the phone or something.
Love that. I'm gonna take Chris here.
I love it. Is he at your place?
No, he's not.
Okay. We won't put anything on record. All right, that was pretty quick through. So let's just do this right now. So we all had Jake.
Yeah. It was good pace. Hey, this was a great podcast, by the way.
I agree.
I appreciate getting the mic for a little bit longer to go through the teams, and then you just we do a little wrap up there with the.
All right, we all had
Pick 'em.
Nick. Who do we have? Matt, Nick, and Cole. I think we all had Cole, right?
I believe so.
I think we all had Hebert.
There's a lot of unanimous choices. I feel like probably not the most exciting week. It wasn't the most exciting waiver week by any means. I don't think there's not like any crazy matchups where it's like 2, 3, and 6 teams that like, oh, do you know what, like, where is this going to go?
Yeah.
Well, we would have that, but that new points for has once again just very much changed.
Which I love.
The league.
I really
Yeah,
like.
It is fun.
It's a good equalizer. I mean, I was never really sold on like there's those other ways of doing it where you can get 2 wins in a week where you beat the other guy, you beat the average, right? You finish in your top 6, you go 2-0 that week. It's a way to kind of equalize it. So I would have gone 1-1 last week, whereas Cole also would have gone 1-1 because he beat you, but he would have lost to the field.
Sure.
Which I don't love that, but this one is great. At least it's like, hey, I put up a lot of points. I have something to show for it. If you're second most points for and you are 7th place, like, yeah, you don't deserve to be in.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the 6th spot can't argue that it's not like it's some James system. It's the 6th place is like, yeah, that person had a better season points. Or they did more this year.
Yeah.
And it's wild card. Hey, if you're the 6th, become the 5th. Grow up.
Exactly. I mean, yeah,
grow up, do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't start Nyheim Hines.
I thought you were going to be able
on.
to sell him, man.
He would have had to give someone else fab to make a trade. I feel like you'd have to give me 5 fab and Nyheim Hines just for me to put him on my roster for a week.
Did he go in the game?
Yeah, and he got targeted in the end zone. But that Jets secondary, baby, there was no shot he was catching that.
All right, well, we appreciate you all sticking with us for another week of Fantasy PD. Hopefully, we shook things up a little bit. I'll have some feedback in my inbox tomorrow from Berg. I look forward to hearing all of it. And Berg, I would like to thank you for changing the template from template week 10 to week 10 template so that I can easily identify it within Google Forms. So well done, buddy. We will catch you all soon and have a great, great Thursday.